That was another one of my questions was you want to promote stuff to an environment and then send an alert to tell your users, hey, these stories are now available. Go look at the environment. That phase of time when your product development is continuing in that phase of time, but that phase of time is ready to kick off, that needs to be on my roadmap because your product owner or somebody needs to be checking back with those users while they're doing their testing.
Yes.
To see their feedback and stuff. Especially larger organizations do this a lot more than the smaller organizations. They have environments dedicated just to these type of users. So knowing when that environment is going to be ready for those users to start engaging. Because I was at a company one time that they pulled people off of their normal jobs. For example, the support staff, people at the call center, people that answer the phones, they would pull them off the help desk and dedicate them for a week to do business acceptance, user acceptance, business value test. I don't know, right? Everybody had. There's a million different acronyms for it.
Right.
But they're basically doing UAT. So basically, they pull a real user off of the phones and give them to the development team for a week to do UAT. And you need to align your landing of the features into that environment on the day that those guys are ready to come over.
Yeah, to your point about larger organizations doing this well, they also have to triage what the business users are actually finding, because oftentimes it isn't necessarily all bugs or defects. It's, I think it should work this way and it doesn't,
right.
So I'm going to raise a flag, right? And it's somebody's job to sit with them and say, this is how it's designed. There's also an element of training that needs to be provided to them so they know how to use the system, right?
Yeah. No, I think you had it right. I think there's somebody that should be sitting with them, watching over their testing. We probably could negotiate on this one. I think this is where you leverage your test team. We talked in a previous episode about your test team really should be up here with a function of your product ownership. They should be lockstep with your product ownership rather than down in the weeds with development. Like, hey, I'm adding this for loop and here's how to test it. That's not super valuable to product ownership. But if product owner could deploy their tester to sit with the users to start kind of combing through what they're doing, they could be triaging things. I think you used the term triage. I think you started this. They could be triaging things to give you some metrics. This is another bomb I dropped on a large organization this last week. You guys need metrics coming out of testing to say when a user sees something and they say, oh, this doesn't work. I was expecting it to work. The person who's in charge of triaging their issues to the team should be saying, okay, well, this issue is something that the team should have caught, but they didn't catch, so this is considered an escape defect. But this issue is something that we never took into consideration. Nobody ever thought about this path through the code. So that's a new requirement, basically. That is not an escape defect. You're not going to ding the team.
It could be a missed requirement.
Or it could be a missed requirement. Yeah. Or it could be or it could be discovery. It could be completely new. Yeah. Nobody knew the software did this.
Right.
That's not bad. That's not bad on anybody that nobody knew the software worked that way.
It isn't bad, but I think what needs to happen is the right expectations need to be set, right? With the BAT, I'll call them business acceptance testing users, to say, thank you for raising this, but this is not something that we've ever considered before. We'll put it in the backlog if that's of value to you.
Who do you tap for that responsibility?
So I create a small team of 2 or 3 people. Usually it is assuming you've got those core leadership team, right? It's the QA lead because they seem to have the most bandwidth, given that the QA team members are embedded with the teams. Yes. So 1 or 2 of those people, along with 1 or 2 of the more savvy users from the user community, because they have the domain knowledge. So they can sit there and say, everything works great, except what you've populated in these drop downs is missing this one line item.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to create a group of 2 or 3 people. I call them the BAT team. And I give them access to the backlog to raise these, but they're not called bugs when they raise them. They're just called observations, issues.
Yeah.
And then the team meets regularly with these 2 that I mentioned, 2 or 3, as well as maybe an architect from the team. Yeah. Certainly the product owner is welcome to join, and the Scrum Masters to go through them. That's the triage process, and actually discuss it and say, you're right, this is a bug or an escape defect, or no, it isn't. It's exactly, how we implemented it. Now you want it different. We understand that. So let's talk about that. So I think that negotiation and the discussion is very valuable.